welcome to the studio at African Utility Week and PowerGen Africa. Today I'm speaking with Tine Henriksen on the topic of financing off-grid energy. Welcome Tine, thank you for joining us. I'd like to ask you, what role does academia play in contributing towards financing off-grid projects in Africa?
Yeah, so I'm from the UCT, the University of Cape Town's Bertha Centre for Social Innovation. So we think of ourselves mainly as a do tank or academics, if you will. In the off-grid energy space predominantly, we play two roles. We research, mainly with practitioners. So that is putting out recommendations for how innovative finance instruments should be designed. And then we do what we've been spending a lot of time on recently, is to launch new financing mechanisms. So for instance, we've just received commitments to launch a Green Outcomes Fund, which provides incentives for local investment funds to invest in green SMEs and green earlier stage projects in South Africa predominantly. And that's going to launch shortly with 550 million rand as a pilot. So we're quite excited about that.
Yes.
And access to energy is one of the outcomes that we can measure and then incentivize.
And on the topic of digitalization, it is definitely an enabler of change. And how is your foundation embracing this?
So from a digitalization perspective, and when you look at off-grid energy, obviously there's a lot of hype around exponential technologies at the moment, like your blockchain and all of that. I think because the off-grid energy industry is quite early stage, a lot of the digitalization is around smart metering and smart measurement. So if you kind of think about one of the big trends in the financing of off-grid energy at the moment, we've seen a lot of hype since 2010. We've seen a lot of investment being capitalized or being catalyzed. We've seen a lot of kind of big 10 companies like your Mkopa, your Off-Grid Electric, all of those guys, that's trying to drive access to energy for the 600 million people that don't have access. What we're seeing at the moment is two different trends at the same time. A higher pressure on returns for impact investors, which then drives these companies more into peri-urban areas and more out of the more difficult countries to operate in. So that puts like some level of pressure on how the companies operate. It's also good because it also drives more kind of market rate investment into the sector, but it takes away from a lot of the more rural, less dense countries, which are more difficult to operate in. So what we're simultaneously seeing is a significant push towards what we call results-based financing, which is for more concessionary financiers to provide an incentive to operate in these communities, a more community-driven access to energy. And there, digitalization and smart metering is a significant push. So how do we make sure that those measurement systems also become a lot more efficient? And so that's one of the key trends. And then of course you've got all your technology around mobile wallets and all of that, which is another big bottleneck for expansion into new markets.
And what would you like to see come out of the industry in the next 5 years?
So I think if we look at the industry over the next 5 years, it is a tipping point at the moment because we need to prove a lot of the business model around off-grid in general because it's growing up. We need to prove that companies can also, and that investors can exit from the companies that we build in sustainability from some of the more, the kind of first tier ones, if you will, the big 10. Now we're seeing a significant push towards the second and the third tier companies as well. So you're more, to some extent, locally driven companies and SMEs that also cuts across like the supply chain. So instead of these off-grid energy companies being very vertically integrated, thinking they need to do everything themselves and they become almost financiers in their own right and they do all the supply chain and all of that, that we actually have a sophisticated industry with specialized players in, and that we've come up with business models that can look at both how do we do very rural and how do we do the more peri-urban areas. And one of the other very exciting things is that we're starting to see a lot more integration of productive energy use as well. So now you can actually, it's not just a solar home system where you can power like you can charge your phone, or you can put a lamp up, but you can actually make productive energy as well in the community. So that also means more local value addition, it means more economic growth and all of that. So that's quite exciting.
Thank you so much for sharing these great insights with us today. And thank you for watching. Subscribe to our channel now for more industry-related content.